Yeah, so it's heading for home. Then when we click on this new, where do we reach? We reach on this page, right? So this is how our external CSS works, right? You can use it. Yeah, so that's how we can use this. Fine. Now, so before continuing, I would like to ask, have you all installed MySQL in your laptops or desktops or whatever you use? Have you guys installed a MySQL or any other database that we can use SQL? No? See, if you won't install it, we won't be able to continue our project. You won't be able to make a web application, right? Okay, so even if you haven't installed it yet, try to do it today. We'll be continuing with MySQL today. And in few days, we'll be learning how can we connect Java with MySQL. Then we'll be learning how we'll connect Java with MySQL and HTML, CSS. Then we can create a web page of our own, a website of our own, right? So that will be our finally created project. So it's okay if you haven't done it till now, but make sure to do it by today itself. And also make sure that you install NetBeans as well, because then you won't be able to make a project if you don't. So okay, so today we are starting MySQL. Okay, before that, just let me share my screen first. So today onwards, what we'll be learning is MySQL. So what it is? MySQL is a database. Okay, it is a relational database. Relational database, and we can run an SQL query in this database. And what does a database do? It stores the data, in structured manner. Right. So in MySQL, our data is stored in the form of table or rows and columns. Right. This is how our data is stored. So now let's start the okay, so this is how your MySQL will look like. Let me enter a password here. Now, so in order to use our database, first we need to create a database. All right. What we need to do? We need to create of a database, right? So how can we create a database? The syntax to create a database is create database, then database name, and semicolon. This is the syntax. So let's create a database with the name CDE. Right? So what we saw here, the database has been created. Query OK, one row detected. Right. If you want to see how many databases are already present in our MySQL, what we can do is show databases. You have to remember all these queries. Possible, then write them down, because all these queries are really important. They are asked in interviews. They're really important, right? So we have these many databases in our SQL, right? But here we have just created CDE, right? So we are going to use CDE here. In order to use a database, the query that we use here is use CDE, right? The database is changed. Now we are using a database with the name CD. Okay, so MySQL is not case sensitive. We can even write use CD as well, right? We can even write use CDE as well, right? It will work. It's not case sensitive. Now, since we are using CD right now, right? So it's specified that we are using a database. Now, to use a database and to store a data, what we need to do is we need to create a table, right? Because I just said that a database stores a data in the form of rows and columns, right? So to store a data, we need to create a table. So the syntax to create a table is syntax to create a table is create table. Then we have to specify a table name. Now here, what we have to do is in this parenthesis, what we have to write, we have to write the name of our column and the data type of our column. For example, if we have a column name as ID, right? Then we have to write what kind of data it is. It's data type, right? For example, there are many data types in SQL. One is integer or variable character, varchar, right? Or we have simply char. There are various type of data types in our SQL, right? So here we are creating an ID as a column, and what we are creating a name as another column, and with the data type as variable character, right? So what's the syntax to create a table? Create table, then we specify name to it, table name, then column name should be here, and the data type of the column should be here. So write it again here. Column name, column type, comma, say, and then a semicolon here. So this is the syntax of our, let's write here student. This is the syntax of how we can create a table, and this is a way we are creating a table. This is an example. So let's create a table here. Create table. Let's, the name of the table is student and ID and comma name, where right. Our table has been created. Now How we are supposed to know that we have created a table? Any guesses? How can we see a table in our database? Any guesses by now? For example, in order to see how many databases we had, what we just wrote here, show databases, right? So in order to see how many tables we have in our database, what should we write here? Anyone?
Select query.
No, actually, I was asking
Show
about how many tables do we have here.
show
So
table.
yeah, that's right. Show table. So what it has shown us tables in CD, which is just we have just created a table with the name student, and we can see it. Now, if we want to see, if we want to see what this table consists of, right? What are the columns in this table? What are the columns in this table? And like the description of the table is, if we want the description of the table, then we use another query, which is describe, or we can just even write it as DSC. So let's first write it as describe. Our table name is student, right? So what we can see here, that field is ID and name. That means the column names are ID and name. Their types are integer in varchar, and the other things are okay. We'll explain it later. But for now, describe student, or we can even write DSC student. It will show the same result. Now we have created a table, right? Now what's left is we need to insert a data in our table, right? So to insert a data in a table, insert data in our table. What we'll do here is to insert data in a table. What we'll do few things. We'll just write a query, which is insert into, what's our table's name? Student, right? And okay, so this is the syntax. Now in this first parenthesis, what we are going to write is we are going to write the name of the columns, right? We're going to write the name of the columns, and here what we are going to write is the values that we are going to enter or insert, right? So insert into student ID comma name. The values here are, so first we need to enter a integer type. So let's enter 1, right? The second we need to enter is a name which is a character, variable character type. So always remember that in MySQL, or maybe in every SQL, a character type or a variable character type must be, variable character type of data must be inserted in single quotes, right? Must be inserted in single quotes. So here let's write the name as now, right? So this is our query to insert data in our student table. So let's write it here. Insert into student, right? The columns that we are entering data in our ID and name, then the values that we are entering are 1 comma double quotes. What it said, query okay, 1 row affected. So this is the basic syntax to insert a table. Or if we don't specify the column name, right, it will work then as well. Right, it will work then as well. But what's the problem in this? We specify the column. When we don't specify the column name, then whatever values we are entering, right, it will arrange itself correspondingly to all the columns. So consider that we have 3 columns here, but we are entering just 2 data, and the third column will stay empty only. And then in case of an empty column, what will get assigned? Null will get assigned to the data, right? The rows or the columns. So now let's insert another data here. Let's write 3 and then let's try to one maybe. Yeah. So now what we need to do is we have inserted the data, right? But we need to see it. We need to see what data we have inserted till now. So in order to do that, we use another query, which is someone just said it just before when I was asking about how to know how many tables we have here. What's that query? To show the data, we select use select, right? Select is kind of a keyword here, right? And if you want to show all the data from our data, if you want to see all the data from our table, right? So what we use select star is for it's asterisk, but I'm just calling it star right now because it's easy to say it, right? Select star from student, right? So what its syntax is basically the select queries syntax is select asterisk from table name, right? From table name. So here our table's name is student. So when we write it here, select start from student, what we can see here is, can we see that we have an ID here and a name here, right? Are these the three values that we had previously inserted? Is it correct? Answers? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Is it correct, right? So we can see that we have inserted some data here. So this is how a select query works and how insert query works. So we'll take some more examples of these. For example, let's create another table with the name, let's say employee. Right. So employee has an ID and a name. Let's say employee has a salary as well. Employee has a salary as well. And okay, so let's keep it to this only. Now, wait, just let me check. Okay, all right. We have a extra column, comma. Right, so we have created a table, the name employee. Now let's insert some record in the table. Insert into employee, ID comma name comma salary. So our employee has name it as AAA and salary should be 10,000. Right. AAB. Okay, let's write BBB. Another data here. So if you all had MySQL installed in your laptops or devices, so you could have practiced it with me as well. So all the concepts would have been really clear to you. But even if you don't have right now, and if you want to learn MySQL or any SQL, any database, so you can go to w3schools.com that I previously mentioned, and you can learn MySQL from there or SQL from there, right? Fine. So now what we want to do is we want to see all the records that we have just inserted in the employees table. So what's the query that we are going to write? Tell me. I want to display all the records that has been inserted in this employee table. What should be the query? Anyone would like to try?
Select star from
Select
employee.
star.
That's
from
correct.
employee.
That's completely correct. Let's start from employee. Don't forget the semicolon, right? So you can see that we have the ID, name, and salary. Now, what I want here is now I just want the names. I just want the name. I don't care about the ID or salary. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to replace this star with name. I'm just going to write the column's name here, right? Select name from employee. What we can have here is the names column, right? What if we want name and salary as well? So what we can have here is name, salary. If we want name, salary, and ID as well, we can do that as well, right? But instead of typing all this, we can just use a star, right? So this is how a select query works. Now, MySQL. Now SQL has many queries and many features. So let's study them one by one. So one of the important feature here is a where clause. Where clause. Right. Where clause. Okay. So what this where clause does. Now what if I want to select data? I want to select the data where I want to select the data where the name is AAA, right? I want to select the data where the name is AAA, or I want to select the data, or I want to put some constraint on the data. No, that I want only those employees whose salaries is greater than this, or I want only those data which is this and this. So we need some constraint, right? We need something that we can put the constraint on the table so that we can fetch only the specific data that we want, right? So this is where the where clause is used, right? So so how can we use it here? So let's say I want data. Select name. I want, okay, so name can be in capital as well, so it doesn't matter because SQL is not case sensitive, right? So select name from from employees where we are using the where clause there. Let's write it in capital so that it will get highlighted. Select name from employee salary where salary equals to, let's see, let's say 30,000. Now another thing is SQL has many operators as well. Many operators as well. For example, we can use addition operator, fraction operator, multiplication, division, modulus, or we have a logical operators as well. Example, and logical and, or well, instead of them we use and or instead. Yeah, we use this, and we can use equals to as well, right? So these we can use these operators, and there are many more operators that we can use. We'll discuss them. So what we want here is select name from employee where salary equals to 30,000. So what am I asking here? You can understand it. It's just like English only, right? It's not that difficult to understand. So what it's saying that it wants the name of that employee whose salary is 30,000. So what should be the answer here? Tell me.
Triple C.
Yes, that's right. You can see that our output is triple C. Yeah, this is the correct answer. Now, what if I want to select the name and the ID? Name and the ID from the employee where the salary is, let's say, 40,000. Let's say I want the salary as well. I know we are checking for the salary, but I want the salary as well. So what should be the output in this case?
4 triple D and 40,000.
Okay, so let's check it. So that's completely correct. And we can even, if you think that, so this should be in first and this should be in last, let's see what happens. The data will get displayed in that order. That's it. So this is how the select query works. And another thing is we can use select for, let me check whether we can perform arithmetic operations here as well, right? What we can see here is select 3 plus 5 equals to 8. And we can use select statements for another arithmetic operation as well. For example, 8 into 5, which is 40, right? Now, so let's use where clause even more. Select, let's select name from employee where where salary is greater than, where salary is greater than equal to 10,000. Right. So these are the operators as well. Right. What are these operators called? Anyone has any idea? What are the greater than or less than equal to or greater than equal to, less than equal to? What are these operators called?
Relational.
Yeah, they can be called as relational operators. So, and yeah, so we can use these operators as well. Now I want conditions like, yeah, select name from employee where the salary is greater than 10,000. Let's not, let's write 20,000. So what should be the output here? What should be the output here? We can see the table here, right? This is our table, and what we are, the query that we are running here is select name from employee where salary is greater than 20,000. So what should be the output here?
Second to last row.
Second to last, yes.
Yes, so that means triple B, triple C, triple D, and triple E, right? Yes, that's correct. That output is correct. Now what we want here is we want names and ID and name of employees whose salaries are greater than 20,000. And do you know the difference between and or? Okay, we'll discuss that right now. Salary is less than 40,000. So what this query will get us, it will be triple C and triple D, right? Because the salary of triple B is 20,000 and the salary of triple D is 40,000, right? So now what is the difference between and or? So and or works like, in any programming language, they work like this and this or. So what they basically say is, for example, we have one condition true. You know that truth table, right? Do you guys know the truth table of any, digital circuit as well? So even if you don't, let's create a truth table here. For example, if a condition is true, right, and the operator is and one condition is what? One condition is true as well. Let's consider that we have two conditions here, right? We have two cases here. There are two cases here. One case is, okay, we have two cases here. So let's make all the possible combinations of these two cases. So first case is true here, and the second case is true here as well. First case is true here, and the second case is false here. Right. First case is false here, and the second case is true, and the both cases are false in this case. Right. So what this AND operator does? Okay, so do you know what should be the output of this? What should be the output of this? Whether it should be true or it should be false? When we are talking about the AND operator.
True.
Yes. You understand that AND means this operator, right? So yeah, the output should be true. That's correct. And what should be the output in this case?
false,
False. That's right. And similarly, it should be false here as well. What about this case?
false,
False.
That's correct. Now, so what this AND operator does, if any of the one condition is false, then the output will be false. If any of the two conditions, if any of the two condition is false, then the output is false. So in order to have the true as the output, both the conditions should be true, right? So and in the case of OR, I hope you all know this. Right. In case of OR, what should be the first output in the case of OR?
true,
True. Right. What should be the second output?
true,
True. What should be the third output then? It should be true as well.
true,
What should be the fourth output then?
false,
False. That's correct. Because what OR operator does, if any of the condition is true, then the output is true. It's as simple as that. So let's get to our SQL as well. Now, in this query, what we saw here that all the queries, all the records which had salary greater than 20,000 and less than 40,000 got fetched. Now let's write a query. Let's say select ID name from employee where the salary is equals to 20,000 or the salary equals to 40,000. So what should be the output here? Okay, so before this, let's first select star from employee so that you can see the table. Right. Now we'll write the query that we are trying to discuss here. Or what should be the output according to you? It's just simple English that you can understand. Select ID and name from employee where the salary equals to 20,000 or salary equals to 40,000.
second row and fourth row,
That's the correct answer. Second row and the fourth row are the answers. So it's simple, right? It's understandable that how it works. So this is how we can use a where clause. Yeah. Now another. Okay, so do you guys want to have a screenshot of this, or we can even Google it? It's not that tough. Right. Now, so another thing that we are going to learn here is we have learned about where clause as well. Now, okay, so yeah, so let's learn about another clause which is S. So what this does, it is just used for an alias. What is an alias? Just another name. Just another name. For example, uh, we want to select an ID. We want to select ID, right? Or right, we want to select ID, or just consider that we have a name of the column is very long, but we want the name to be short, or we want to name the column something else. Then we can use the as clause here. So let's see it with the syntax. So we remember that we did select 3 plus 5. So when we saw it, when we tried to run the query, what we saw that 3 plus 5 and the output is 8. But we want to name it something else. So let's write select 3 plus 5 as sum. Right. So what we named 3 plus 5 as sum here. So I think what we can see here is that sum is 8 as our output. Let's write 8, 8 into as, okay, right. What we can see, we can use as here as well, right? So this is how we can use the as clause, right? So now the another clause that we are going to discuss about here is, so let me see, let me check first what we need here actually. Okay, so now we have learned to insert a data in our table, right? We have also learned that how to how to select the data, how to show a data. Now we are going to learn how to delete a data. We are going to learn how to delete a data. So to delete the data, the syntax that we use here is delete from delete from table name. Delete from table name. But remember, when we do, okay, so let's see it with an example only. So first, let's use the table. How many tables do we have in this database? We have an employee and a student table. So let's use the student table. Let's type select, and we don't need to write use student to use it. We can just like select star from student and it will work as well. Right, star. Okay, we didn't write from. Right, select star from student table. So we can have the names of the student. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to delete data. Delete from student. So when we write this, you can see that 3 rows got affected. That means all the data got deleted. When we write delete from student, then all the data got deleted. Now when we try to select data, what we saw here, empty set, the set is empty. So we cannot have an output. So what should we do in this case then? In this case, we are going to use the where clause. So let's select star from the employee table. And let's make sure that we don't delete the complete data here. So let's write delete from employee where delete from employee where name equals n. Always remember, since name is a variable character, is a var character, that's why we need to use single quotes, right? So what we are trying to do here is delete from employee where name equals to triple E, right? So when you press enter, we can see that 1 row affected, and when we selected, we can see that the triple E row has been completely removed from the table. Is it clear till here now? Now let's write another query. Delete from employee where salary equals let's say 30,000. 1 row got affected. Now when we see that, now we can see that the table, the row which had the salary 30,000 got removed from here, right? So is it clear till now? How do this MySQL works, or this SQL works, this SQL queries and everything? Is it clear till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I want every one of you to install the MySQL as fast as possible, or you can use any online software to run SQL. You can use W3 schools as well. It has a workplace where you can test your SQL queries there, or you can use HackerRank to test your SQL queries. If you want to know how, then let me know. If not, then please install MySQL. It will be great for you, because when we'll try to create our project, then we need some connection between the database as well, right? So that's it for today. You all can leave now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.